doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Defense Minister Israel Katz says he's instructed the military to prepare an enforcement plan, as they're describing it, against Iran following the 12-day air war. They've put this statement out in the past few moments, saying the plan includes maintaining Israel's air superiority, preventing nuclear advancement and missile production, and responses to Iran for supporting terrorist activities against
I deeply respect the current American president. He's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way, on his way to the White House. You know that he survived 2 attempts on his life. He's a very courageous person, that's for sure. As for what he's doing within the country, within the United States, or when it comes to the Middle East and his efforts there to achieve peace, for example, in the Ukraine crisis, we value that a lot. And let me say that publicly again, like I've said before, President Trump, I believe, sincerely wants to achieve peace in Ukraine. Just recently, he said it's more difficult than he had believed before. Well, that's true, and it's to be expected, because it's one thing when you look at something from the outside and it's something different when you actually deal with it, and the same goes for the Middle Eastern matter. Although over there, I think he had much more experience, he was more involved in the Middle East before, but it's difficult there as well, because real life is always difficult. It's more difficult than what you initially believe. But personally, I'm always open to any contacts, to any meetings, and I know that President Trump has said on multiple occasions that we could meet. But I personally think this is something you need to prepare for, because as a result of such a meeting, we need to achieve some kind of new level of partnership. But overall, thanks to President Donald Trump, relations between Russia and the United States are starting finally to get better in some respects. Of course, we still have issues diplomatically, but the first steps are there. We're moving forward. We have contacts between our major agencies, between the State Department and our Foreign Ministry, between our special services, which is really important, you know, because it's really critical to be able to fight terrorism, whatever the situation is, whatever the environment is. And in other agencies too, we have very good prospects in terms of economic development, economic partnership. I know that American businesses are really willing to, they are sending signals that they would like to go back to our market, and we will welcome that, but that requires dialogue. But overall, like I said, that meeting is quite positive.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Hope you had a great weekend. We're raring to go this week. We got a lot of guests lined up all during the week. It's going to be a powerful week on the SCIF. I want to say hello to the crew. Thank you for joining us today. You're cleared hot in the chat. Always love the engagement. It's getting more and more and more, and we love it. So thank you very much. Please check out whatfinger.com. They're our partner on distributing the news. They're a great aggregator. After CDM.press, which you check 3 times a day, you can check whatfinger.com, and I love the way they lay out stuff, and they're always like trying to improve, which I like. It's very, very interesting site. We were supposed to have Big Honey 6 on today. Listen to Big Honey, Michael Yan, but he couldn't make it. But we're going to get him on to talk about Idaho. He had some really interesting observations. It may be tomorrow or the next day, but stay tuned for that. You saw in the cold open, the Israelis are now talking about another wave of attacks. Again, we're on this like a fly on you-know-what, and we're going to break this story when it happens, if it happens. But there's a lot of, you need to understand there's a lot of tension between MAGA in the White House and the war crowd to keep the war going. I think Trump stopped it too early for Mark Levin and crew, but we're going to let you know what happens when it does. And you saw something really disturbing, Ukraine. Again, persecution of the Christian church. This was a few days ago. Nazis disguised as invalids in wheelchairs entered one of the cathedrals in Ukraine of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and then got up and beat all the priests very badly. I'm trying to get Bob Amsterdam. He's agreed to an interview this week. I'll let you know, the attorney for the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. So we'll have him on when I can get him this week. But we're going to start 2 programs. One is action. We're going to start acting on what's going on with the Christian persecution and other things. And we're going to start outing the people who are supporting all this. We're not going to hold back. We're going to name names. And so look for that over the next few weeks. There's going to be a lot of focus on Christian persecution. I think we're very uniquely positioned to out a lot of this that's going on. And I'm talking Nigeria. I'm talking in the West Bank. I'm talking in the U.S. I'm talking in Azerbaijan, in Armenia, Ukraine. We're going to be on this. It's going to be one of our focuses. So stay with us. Q is back. Bill Quinn is back after he had his Neuralink implant reset after a few weeks. But Bill is back after his medical emergency. I'm going to play a little bit of what's going on in Georgia from our Georgia show yesterday because, wow, Georgia is gone. It is controlled by the fascists, and we're the only ones talking about it. Nobody else in Conservative Inc. will talk about it. Why is that? So stay with us on that after the break. And then in the second hour, we're going to have Thierry Laurent. The NATO summit was not what you're hearing. There's a lot of spin. A lot of it's fake. Thierry is just off a couple weeks in Moscow. He's got this goods on what's going on. He's got the goods of what's going on in France, in Russia. He's a wealth of information, so he'll be in the second hour. But something really stinks in Georgia. We're going to talk about that. And all of this we have on the SCIF today. So stay with us. We'll be right back. It's going to be a full week. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Thank you.
Report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
So we are in the factory in Kentucky. This is Alp World HQ, and we are at the end of the packing line. So I'm going to show you how it works. We have the card, throw it in there. There's a packing slip, and then you have the Alp. And 4, but that seems honestly like a lot. 3 now, but it's good. You just pack a punch that, you know, for a normal nicotine brand, it'd be like 8. You know, we think 3 is fine. Next one. Again, 4. I'll throw 3 in just to keep it fair. Okay? There you go. So you can see you can get fast at this. And really, it's just a matter of repetition. This is kind of the assembly line that, you know, Henry Ford devised so long ago.
Tucker's stealing all the out because...
One of the ways you can really help us is to sign up for our no ad subscriptions. We have a soft paywall set up that you don't see any ads if you subscribe. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. Pay the $100, get it out of the way, and you get access to all of our content. We're really ramping up content across all the sites, really growing into what our vision was in the beginning. For instance, the Manhattan.press, our New York paper, the Manhattan.press is now going to be our business and market section. We're going to really grow that. We've got Tom Teague coming in to help with that, who you know here as an investor and a Wall Street professional. So you get access to all of that. You can go from markets to geopolitical to local, drill down in Montana or Connecticut or Florida or Georgia. You can go Hispanic. You can go into the Balkans. You can go into the Middle East. You can get all of this with no advertisements popping up on your phone. People love this. You sign in, you forget about it. $100 a year or $10 a month. Please check that out for us. It's top right corner of any of the ads. Subscribe with no ads, and you get access to the entire network with no ads. So people love it. I get a lot of good feedback, and it's growing rapidly. So we really appreciate that. It gives us evergreen revenue that we can count on every month and hire reporters and plan and build the network. So thank you for that. Had a fantastic Georgia show yesterday with Q. Q is back. Bill Quinn had his Neuralink reset in his brain. He had a medical emergency, actually, but he is back with us. And we had a great show yesterday, and he had a lot to talk about this stink coming out of the great state of Georgia, my home state. And we're going to stay on this, and I want to play some of the Georgia show because we had huge audience yesterday and a lot of good feedback on what we're putting out. So you need to know what's going on in Georgia. It's critical to 26. There's a Senate race coming. It's really, really important, and the globalist and the dark side is all over it. So we're going to be all over it, fighting back. So here we go.
You know, we're going through an unmasking. We're seeing people that we thought were on our side that are not, and maybe some that were not that are coming over to our side. I don't know. But it is interesting to compare that to, for example, if we go back to Alex Jones' comments, I think a month ago or maybe a little longer, he said, we're going to see people moving left and right. They're going to be, some will be acting better than we've ever seen them before, others acting worse. And I do think we're seeing some of that. We'll see some pictures and video today that may illustrate a little bit of that. It's almost to the level of being bizarre how arrogant in some ways, how blatant the avarice that we see some people acting with. It's just such a shame. One of the things we'll focus on is the Georgia GOP convention and some of the facts surrounding that. Now, I suspect we're going to end up with probably a special just to be able to assemble all the strange and inappropriate in some ways things that happened at the Georgia GOP convention that have now spawned, among other things, a complaint both to the Georgia GOP, but also copying in the RNC. So on a national basis, raising this to a level of observation that really can't be missed. Many people on a call yesterday with Voter GA asked, don't we need to get to the FBI? Don't we need to get to Trump somehow and make sure they're seeing all of this? And it's my own instinct, and I will rely on others to examine their own thoughts. But my instinct is I think these guys know what's going on here in Georgia. It's almost unmistakable. I can't believe that with everything else going on and with everything else that has been achieved over the last now 5 years, that these things would have been missed. So my own feeling is we can rely on that process to confirm that Trump, the right people in his administration, the right people in the new FBI and the new DOJ administrations are aware of this stuff and at the right point will act. But some people question that, and I understand why. So let's do one thing. There's a short video that got put together regarding some of the dynamics at the Georgia GOP convention. And I'd like to start with that because I find it to be a well put together piece. It highlights some of the key things that did and did not happen. And then we can go into some more detail as we get through that. So if you're okay, I'm going to go ahead and play that. That's about 3.5 minutes.
To all of Georgia, it is hard to understand how bad the 2025 Georgia GOP convention was while watching short clips taken by grassroots in attendance. The Georgia GOP has not, and most likely will not, release the uncut video they paid for. Too much proof of bias. Other videos you have seen show ignorance, improper procedure, and oozing bias coming from the McCoon teams. But I want to explain what happened in the upcoming video, which shines a light on the lack of humankind. In the first few seconds of this video, you will hear Chairman Crane calling for candidates to give their speech in alphabetical order, which shows how ill-prepared he is because the candidates have not even been nominated.
So our first speech we're going to have up here, or our second after Ms. Jenny, we've got are we doing chairman first? Why don't we just work with the big one first, right? Let's get this out of the way, okay? All right, we're going to do them in alphabetical order. And David, I saw him.
Of course, someone alerts him and he changes course back to nominations.
Oh, thank you. Important thing. Are there any nominations other than that from the floor? I recognize number 2.
Funny, Mr. Crane knew exactly which mic to go to without them even waving their arms to get his attention, while other mics had people waving their arms, jumping up and down and screaming to try to get his attention so that someone there could nominate.
I recognize number 2. Mic number 2, name and county.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Madeline Ann Lane from DeKalb County.
This is one of the mic hoggers that the SAA, Mr. Tippett, had referred to earlier as on McCoon's team. Of course, she was just holding the mic so that she could hand it to Brant Frost. Brant Frost was so determined to make sure that he was the one that nominated David Cross, so that no one who supported David Cross could mention one kind word.
This is, she was gracious enough to allow me to say this. In the interest of just getting to the next order of business, I nominate David Cross. I am a firm supporter of Josh McCoon, but I want to make sure that Mr. Cross has an opportunity to run. Thank you very much.
Due to lack of video, what you will not see is the patriot who stood at mic 4, waving his arms, yelling. He secured the mic, lowered it, so that a young lady in a wheelchair could speak, only to be ignored by the cast of characters on the stage. She was there to nominate David Cross. We had a corporation that did not provide proper access, and a McCoon team who, out of spite and hatred, would not allow this young lady to speak. Here is what she was going to say.
Hi, I'm Tanya Sosa, Cherokee County. I've worked with David for 4 years to expose our broken election system and secure elections we can trust. So I watched that effort ignite a calling in his heart to also bring truth, trust, and transparency to the Georgia GOP. He's a good guy. He fights for the right things. I nominate David Cross for Sherman.
Okay. And there we go. All right. So that's just a one of the characterizations of what happened at the convention. The very fact that she mentioned Mike Crane. Mike Crane is apparently a confidant of the Frost family, and was put in place as chairman without really allowing the delegates to make a selection. That is uncommon and not in keeping with the both the rules and not in keeping with Robert's rules either. And so there's been concern about that. There's been concern about the fact that he didn't seem to know what he was doing as chairman. In a number of cases, there was one pointed out there. But in addition, the other things, the fact that folks were gathered up to an hour and a half before the convention around the microphones in order to apparently control access and prevent people from being able to speak. This follows the state committee meeting the night before, in which some members attempted to get recognized in order to make comments or proposals regarding hand-marked paper ballots. And in fact, we're not even recognized, is what I'm told, by the acting chairman in the state committee meeting. The acting chairman would have been Josh McCoon. So we begin to see the kinds of issues that cropped up. One of which is particularly poignant because if you look at the elected officials that are almost universally seen with concern or more or worse across Georgia, Brad Raffensperger rises to the top of that list. I was just party to a call with Voter GA yesterday where Garland Favorito went through a report that he and his team had compiled of all the things that Raffensperger has done since becoming Secretary of State that are of deep concern. Things bypassing the rules necessary for proper administration of our elections, trying to keep certain data from the public and from analysts, and then trying to, once data is available, trying to cover up some of the things that are emerging once that data is available to folks that know what to do and how to analyze it. So one of the very interesting things that happened during the GA GOP convention was a resolution that was considered and in fact enacted. And we'll take a look at it here. And it says, I won't read the entire thing, but basically the party and the convention voted to resolve that the Georgia Republican Party would not qualify or allow to be qualified or take any action to allow Brad Raffensperger to qualify as a Republican or run for any elected office unless and until a GA GOP convention removes that restriction. Basically saying, we, the Georgia Republican Party, do not want Brad Raffensperger running as a Republican for any office, but especially rerunning for a Secretary of State or another office in Georgia. This is a resolution. It was voted on and passed. Now, keep in mind that when the state convention is in session, it is the governing body within the Georgia Republican Party. Its decisions are compelling and should be treated as final, unless in some way changed based on, for example, a meeting of the executive committee or the next Republican Party convention, for example. What's notable is literally within a very short period, I think 1 or 2 days following the convention, Josh McCoon made a statement which was in opposition to this resolution. And keep in mind, he is compelled to abide by the decisions of the Georgia Republican Party. He is supposed to be chairman. He's certainly CEO of the corporation, which some say is acting as the party, but may not in fact be the party. So here's a note from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution quoting that the Georgia GOP chair says the party will not block Raffensperger's bid for higher office. So 2 things from this. One is, why would Josh go out so quickly and countermand something that had been voted on and decided by the delegates at the state Georgia Republican Convention? Well, one, he shouldn't. He doesn't have the power to do that, not on his own. He's an executive. That means he executes the will, the decisions of the party, and potentially of the executive committee, and especially of the delegates at the state convention. But he does not have the power to go out and simply say, well, we voted on that, but that's not what I'm going to do. So that's one concern. The other concern is, why would he do it so quickly? Well, does he know that Raffensperger, who has yet to announce, is in fact running for office? Is he running for the Secretary of State again? Is he running for something different? Well, we don't know that, but that would help explain the urgency with which he went out with this announcement.
Well, also doing it through the AJC bill. I mean, that's the mouthpiece of
there you
the
have it.
establishment. So it's like, okay, we're going to coordinate this and do it through our media, mouthpiece, talking points, etc.
That's correct. I was surprised, very frankly, that I knew I was out of play for this period of time, but I thought your phone might have rung with Josh, helping get this announcement out to the patriots across Georgia. And did you get such a call?
I did not get that call, but even on just putting it out on the X account, I mean, maybe he did, but to go to the AJC to put it out means that's a calculated move.
Yeah, to be a little less glib, I mean, the AJC is commonly thought of as the mouthpiece of the left in Georgia, and of course they running at the behest of Kemp in the middle of all this. So again, we see Kemp's hand in this, we see McCoon's hand in this, and we cannot ignore the fact that this came out through the AJC. So as part of the complaint that I mentioned to you, my suspicion is this dynamic will also be taken up within that. Let's take a look at some other stuff. This goes back. This may provide a little bit more background. These are tweets from Josh back in 2018, when Brad Raffensperger was in fact running for Secretary of State. And Josh in the first one says, today is runoff election day in Georgia. I voted for Brad Raffensperger and Chuck Eaton. I hope you will take the time to do the same. It is important. And then later on, Congratulations to Brad Raffensperger and Chuck Eaton on convincing victories tonight. I'm sure the media will call it sometime in 2019. A little bit of humor. But isn't it notable that Josh was a Brad Raffensperger supporter at that time? Is he still? Certainly seems like that might be the case. So we don't know, and we will wait to hear more about that. This is another thing to start considering. We have talked about the emergence of these coalitions, if you will, that have been formed as corporations in, I think now 22 to 25 counties, representing more than half the populace of Georgia. And they were put together by Brent Herron, an appointee of Trump, appointee of Kemp, forgive me for that. An appointee of Kemp, assigned back in the past years. I want to say it was done 20 or 21. But these coalitions have been set up to mirror, in some cases, the Georgia Republican Party presence, and in some counties have already been noted that they're almost very secretive. They insist on vetting. In Cherokee County, for example, I am told that they insist on vetting folks that want to be a part of the coalition in Cherokee County. And in fact, you can't just show up and attend a coalition meeting. You have to be vetted. You may have to be a member. I don't know. But this follows on to Kemp making moves back in the 20 and 21 timeframe, saying he was moving away from the Georgia Republican Party. So now he comes out and he congratulates Josh McCoon on his reelection as chairman of the Georgia Republican Party and the fact that he looks forward to working with him. Is this all a precursor to putting these substitute Republican Party organizations, another set of corporations between the people of Georgia and between an authentic Georgia Republican Party? Well, we don't know, but we can't ignore that dynamic. And this follows along with writings that we have done and that have been published by, among others, Hank Sullivan, in extensive research that he did into the coalitions and the potential reasons behind them, going back now, 3 years or more. So we expect that more will come out on that in the coming days, but we cannot mistake that there's something afoot here when when Josh comes out and he gets endorsements from all kinds of elected officials, people with Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, others. And when we question Charlie Kirk, when we question Marjorie Taylor Greene on why they would be backing Josh McCoon in the face of some of these odd things that were coming out during the campaigning, the apparent concern around finances within the Georgia GOP, the failure to have meetings, either of the state committee or of the executive committee in a timely way for the past more than, I think we're going on more than a year. Neither MTG nor Charlie Kirk nor others would answer. And notably, one of the folks that did not endorse McCoon that we could see was Kemp. Why would that be? Why would he apparently avoid endorsing McCoon?
Well, the big issue also, Bill, is the elections. I mean, they're not talking about getting rid of those machines. I mean, there's plenty of evidence. Bernegger put out more this week of how they stole the election with the machines in Wisconsin. So the fact that they're just not even talking about that anymore is proof in itself of they're not for the people, in my opinion.
That's right. And most people will remember that Kemp was in attendance in a meeting with other governors when Trump addressed that gathering personally with Kemp in the room and said that his vision includes single day voting, paper ballots, hand-marked paper ballots, hand counting, rigorous voter ID management so that people know who they are, and with citizenship confirmation. And if you look at our priorities, that would have to be done by the legislature here in Georgia. What were our priorities? Well, tort reform. Why would tort reform be a top priority? But it was, including Kemp threatening to have a special session if necessary to get it done. What was the other big priority? Pesticide bill that protects not Georgians, not Georgian farmers, but protects chemical companies like Bayer over in Germany and like ChemChina over in China. So
I think this
avoid the paper ballot issue, but go to these other priorities. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the convention was the beginning of the end of the narrative control and the start of something else. I think the purpose of the convention, in spite of the lack of progress on paper ballots, was to show that the Georgia GOP leadership has no desire to do what the people want at all. All they're about is maintaining control. I mean, that was completely obvious. So I think that is a wake-up call, a change, a pivot point, whatever you want to call it.
I think you're right, although I think they will try to portray it as something different. They're going to try to portray it as confirmation that people are confident in McCoon and his chosen selected team members' leadership. That's not what it showed. And you can see that in a couple, I'll actually play a video in just a moment that shows some of that, because people were irate even on the floor of the convention because they realized that they were getting railroaded, hence the beginning of the video we showed just a moment ago. But they realized they were getting railroaded in ways that they did not want. And it cannot be ignored, and we're not going to let it get ignored as we go forward. That's part of the reason I wanted to set this up, because this is part of a bigger fight, I believe. If you'll bear with me, let me see if I can show that particular video that I just referenced. Let me show this. Hang on just a moment. This is somebody complaining about a microphone actor.
You don't have to raise your voice. The microphone won't play. Thank you for those comments.
Appointed information is where in the convention rules, the Republican Party rules or Robert's rules, can people stand in front of a mic and block other people behind them when they have points of order and points of business to address, and they will not do it if she grabbed the mic down early on when the rules were voted on.
Okay, so you can get the sense that, this was getting irate on the floor. We'll do a little bit more on this, but I sense that this might be a good time for a break. So let me flip it back.
Yeah, let me just run a couple ads and then we'll talk a little bit and then we'll come back. So we're going to take a quick break here.
Against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another. And I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition, and sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
So please check out the Nucleo Boost, cdmnutrition.com, and get the stamina that we use here on CDM. Back to you, Bill.
Okay. So let's just explore this microphone thing just for a moment. And I want to show you a comment, but I want to show you a picture that's actually in some ways more telling. So here is Kylie calling out, the efforts of Debbie Dooley, who was one of the folks guarding the microphones. She was overheard before going up toward the mics. Oh, I'm wanted at the microphones. And so this was well before the beginning of the convention, and unclear why they wanted folks until once it got going, and then it was clear that these folks were meant to control access to the mics, something that Brent Frost actually admitted in a signal post or a text post. He basically said they had just done a better job politicking by controlling the mics and other things. But this next thing gives you a better sense. This is not just a contest to determine who's going to lead the organization. There's something unkind and maybe worse about the dynamic that we saw here. This picture shows somebody that's frustrated and actually quite upset over the goings on at the convention. And look at the reaction of Travis Bowden and this other woman in the background to this man's, I'll call it dismay or upset over what was going on. Yeah. What kind of people laugh when somebody's upset?
Yeah.
And I think I don't have to answer that for most good people in Georgia. Who laughs at people when they're upset? So, what are some other examples of the junk that went on at this thing? Well, one was the actions, and in some cases the questions, of the nominating committee. And we know all the members of the nominating committee, and we will continue to call out their actions and their statements and so forth as we go forward. But one of the most notable was Kylie Kramer's interview, and you're going to hear Candace Taylor ante up and make a question and comment regarding Kylie Kramer that many find truly unbelievable. Let's listen to this.
So we're supposed to be getting to know you better, and it's just, I don't know you any better. So your mama is the national committee woman. She was elected, and honestly, Amy's always been very kind and respectful. And I don't, it's usually like apple tree. So I'm really confused about where you came from. So I'm very curious to know if she used corporal punishment on you as a child.
I'm not going to answer such an offensive question, Candace.
No, it's legit, because you didn't get spanked enough. But you're going to get spanked by the world, sister. You've lied about me. You've lied about this woman. You've lied about her. You've lied incessantly. And I'm too classy to get on there and expose your behind, but I've got a ton of it. But I don't have to, because God is going to vindicate every one of us. Every one of us. Witchcraft don't work here.
You wonder why it's hostile.
You, sister. You.
Is there any maybe not an inquisition? Is there anyone who has any questions? No.
Thank you.
So apparently that was the extent of the questioning for Kylie Kramer. I could not avoid noticing the similarities between that exchange from Candace Taylor and an exchange that I've seen her have on Twitter some time ago. She apparently feels that she's able to foretell God's actions, which we have seen others that are more learned in such things than I am say is not proper. We don't know God's will, and we shouldn't be quoting God's will. And two, talking about witches and witchcraft. I find that an interesting, concerning focus, and it keeps coming up when she apparently doesn't like somebody. And I cannot overlook the fact that with the help of a radio station owner in southern Georgia some 2 years ago, we were able to show that Candace Taylor herself was lying about statements she was making regarding BKP and David Cross and involving Josh McCoon and other things. So folks are happy to go back. We're happy for them to go back and look at our reporting back in that time frame regarding, if you look up Candace Taylor and radio station owner, you will find that reporting going back a couple of years ago. So I find it interesting. She's calling Kylie Kramer a liar, yet we note that Kylie Kramer's posts often include documented videos, documents, and other proof before she posts things. And yet she's forgetting that she herself got caught lying a couple of years ago. So I think our role here is to make sure that these things do not get forgotten as we go forward, and we're not going to let them get forgotten.
No, we're not. And that's she's called me a witch too on social media. I have the tweet. And
really, I'd forgotten.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just you could say a lot of the Democrats or those supporting that Marxist ideology use projection. I'm not saying Candace is a witch. I don't know, but she called me a witch, so I'm able to talk about it. And it's just insane. And the way she treated that woman is not okay. And I'm glad you played that, because she's not just messing with some people who have no ability to fight back. We have that ability. And my father started Johns Creek Presbyterian Church. He was a minister for 42 years. I grew up in the church, and he was moderator of the Atlanta Presbytery. So she's messing with the wrong people when she's getting in that lane. So back to you, Bill.
Okay. I want to show one more thing, and then I know that you've got a piece from Dr. McCullough that we'd like to include today as well. So one of the things that we spoke of a couple minutes ago was the lack of attention to this notion of paper ballots. And you would think that of all the organizations in Georgia, the GOP being where we are, and the fact that there's so many Trump supporters across the GOP, would be one of the first organizations to push for paper ballot use, certainly across the state, but especially at our state convention. And I mentioned that the folks that were trying to make this heard at the state committee could not even get recognized by Josh McCoon, according to what is reported to me. And then secondly, you hear on one of the other podcasts, Debbie Dooley again coming out going, oh, yeah, we had the opportunity to vote on paper ballots and blah, 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 blah. But watch the face of a young lady, Nancy Babbitt, who you will see in the lower left-hand corner, another guest on the show at the same time. And you will see her reaction to Dooley's comments as we get through this video. And just as a capper to this, I want to caution people to check what they are told. We will bring out what we find to be the truth, I think, in every case. And I know that we've reiterated that again and again and again. But here you have somebody saying something, and somebody on the same podcast is giving alternative feedback. Let's watch this.
And I would like to say about the paper ballots thing and about the microphones, Brent Frost put together a great plan. We knew we had the numbers. We knew we were going to win. And the paper ballot folks had been trashing Josh and the Republican Party with lies for months, and yet these people wanted to use paper ballots. And they did get to vote on paper ballots. At the microphone I was at, somebody made a motion, and it was clear. Mike Crane was the convention chairman. He made it clear, if you vote this way, is voting to use the clickers, the same clickers which were used in 2023, where Brent Frost lost and Brian Pritchard and David Cross won. The convention body voted overwhelmingly to use the clickers, and that cut off the debate for using the paper ballots. And it was a big victory.
So you can see you can see why this is so critical to check the facts you're being told, especially on some of these alternative stations, I guess I'll call it. As we go forward, it's my belief that part of our role now is we've been involved in this long enough. We can tell what actually happened versus what people said happened. And it's my feeling, my instinct, that as we get further toward primaries, as we get further toward the 26 elections, we and others like us will be in a position to both vet and then confirm or deny the claims being made by some of these folks, whether they're part of a campaign or not. I believe our role is continuing to evolve to that of reminding people what did happen versus what folks will want them to believe happened. So with that, back to you, Todd.
Oh, wow, that's really good information, Bill. Glad to have you back, Q.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
We're slogging over Africa. Foot, slogging over Africa. Boot, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Hope you enjoyed that expose on Georgia. We're going to do a lot more of that. You need to know what's happening in a critical state for the 26th election. And it stinks in Georgia really bad. And Conservative Inc. doesn't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it all day long. Today is June 30th. The first half of 25 is over. I'm your host, L Todd Wood. This is your mission brief. Russian troops mass on the Sumy border, and also Azerbaijan issues with Russia. That's a frozen conflict of the Soviet Union, Nagorno-Karabakh with Armenia, Russia, and Azerbaijan. So you may see some more reporting on that from us, maybe in person, but we'll talk about that down the road. We're going to dig into that in a second. Christian persecution rages everywhere. We've talked about that. That is a story we're going to be all over. Canada falls like cheap fur. And it's funny, the Trump administration just said they're going to restart negotiations immediately. Trump laid the art of the deal. Canada needs us. We don't need them. And Trump just made that very clear. By the way, we're going to have Robert Krajcik on Wednesday from Canada, formerly with Rebel News. Great guy, always a great guest. Get a lot of good feedback from him. So stick with us. As I said, a lot of good guests coming this week. Wearables for everyone. What did RFK say? Wearables for everyone? No, we're not going to support that. And New York City, a socialist paradise. We're all over this with our Manhattan paper, the Manhattan.press, and will continue to be with on-site reporting, etc. But it's a story that we want to stay on. I want to bring up, if you go to our Eastern European site, tsarizm.com, tsarizm.com, where we cover the former Soviet Union and its surrounding territories, the territories of the former Tsarist regime, which went from Poland to all the way New York or San Francisco. That's why we call it that. But it's a unique site. But if you're interested in Eastern Europe and that whole region, this is the site for you, tsarizm.com. But we have a story up there: Russian massive troops on the Ukraine border, up to 50,000 troops looking to push further into the Sumy Oblast in northern Ukraine. This is important as Russia pushes to close the war out. And what is NATO going to do? What is Trump going to do? We hope he doesn't fold like he did in Iran, and we hope we don't see more of this war pushing going on, and we hope this war ends and the killing stops. It's really, really important to stop the killing on both sides. Too many young kids have died on both sides, and it's horrific, and we want it to stop. We're going to continue pushing to end this war. I talked about New York City, but by the way, Manhattan.press, which is our paper in New York, and let me just bring that up so people can see it. Manhattan.press is our paper in New York, and it's also going to be our business channel going forward. We're putting a lot of business news up there. There's an article up there now about Canada revokes digital service tax and folds to Trump like a cheap suit. And Trump has now said he's going to resume trade talks with the U.S. Canada tried to play big boy and got smacked down. And also the whole Alberta secession thing, and maybe Alberta is going to become the 51st state. Very conservative part of Canada. All the energy's there, energy pipelines. It supports and funds all of the liberal crap going on in Ottawa and Toronto and Montreal. There's something there. We're going to stay on that. We may go up to Canada too and report on it directly. And again, that's the kind of reporting you get from us, but we're definitely going to have Robert Krajcik on Wednesday and talk about all of this. And what about Idaho? Big Honey 6 is going to be on this week. Michael Yan, who's got some really good insight into the ambush setup and what's behind all this. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure. I may have to pre-tape him tomorrow after the show, maybe on the show, maybe Wednesday. He's in Japan working a lot of stuff, but Michael and I have been chatting, and we're going to talk about this because it's really, really important as to what's happening. There's more than just some shooter. This was an ambush. They murdered these firefighters who were just brought in, had no idea what was going on. They were just up there to fight a fire, and the guy shot them and killed them. Why is that? Who was it? We don't know much of anything yet, but there is a good running tally on Zero Hedge. We like the guys at Zero Hedge, and you can go there. Idaho wildfire ambush, gunman dead after sniper attack kills 2 firefighters. It's a good rolling update there. So check that out, which is, again, we like Zero Hedge a lot. Just good information. That's what we like about them. Just good information. Now, Kennedy comes out and says everyone should be wearing a wearable. We don't agree with this by any means. Why is he pushing this? This is really disturbing and somewhat worrisome, to be honest. Why is RFK there's surveillance issues, there's RF radiation issues, there's privacy issues. Why in the heck would he be pushing this? It's really bizarre. Even CHD, his own nonprofit, came out and said every American wearing a wearable is not a vision we share. You can find that on CDM. We have a close partnership with CHD, Children's Self-Defense. What's going on there? Just bizarre and scary, because obviously somebody is manipulating RFK's behavior since he got in office, and we still have the shots on the market. The RMNA is still on the market. mRNA, excuse me. The messenger RNA shots vaccines, they're not vaccines, they're bioweapons, they're still on the market. Why is that? And why is Kennedy coming out and said everybody should have a surveillance device? That's just weird. I'm sorry. And, that's not cool, and we're not going to take it, and we're going to talk about it. So with that, one more. We talked about the wildfires. So that's it. We're going to take another break. We'll come back. I'm going to play an interview with Dr. McCullough I had, and then we have Thierry Laurent on at the bottom of the hour. But we had people asking about Dr. McCullough, if we could play that again, so we're going to do that. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with a lot more on the SCIF. The bird flu is circulating. We're getting more and more press, more fear mongering, more warnings about this. First, let's start with that. What say you on?
Well, what I say is it specifically is not circulating. It's in animals. There's one human, maybe two transmissions, no human-to-human transmission. And stand by, everybody. If there is some sort of sudden human-to-human transmission, you should immediately be suspicious that gain of function was involved with that. Just the fact that they're taking an animal virus and going nuts on it in the press and talking about it all the time, that to me leads me to believe that they have concerns that somebody is doing something with that virus, because this would not happen naturally, in my opinion.
Our world is changing rapidly. Many crucial systems we depend upon are collapsing. And the most important system that is failing is the food supply.
Mr. President, this Council is more than aware of the multiple challenges and threats the world is facing today. But the threat of famine, people starving slowly to death, must be a red line.
These food prices are going to keep going up and up, and they're going to keep feeding excuse after excuse, narrative after narrative. Yeah, where you're going to have to get off that treadmill and start getting more autonomous with your own food growing.
You want to make sure that you can eat, because frankly, food is the biggest issue as we are going through these transitions.
But amidst the chaos, there is a path to resilience. Marjorie Wildcraft is the female leader of the survival and preparedness movement. Marjorie has taught millions of people how to grow an abundance of food in a grid-down situation, even if you have no experience, are older, or out of shape.
I've spent decades finding the fastest, easiest, and funnest ways for the average person to be able to grow a lot of food. I've created a step-by-step process that's so simple that even kids to elders have been using it in order to grow a lot of their own food. And you can too, even if you have no experience, you're older, or you're out of shape.
Growing your own food is like printing your own money. Get started today.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I forgot to say something. I want to bring up the Manhattan.press again real quick. Go to the top menu on the Manhattan and click on the Manhattan bestsellers. This is our competition with the New York Times bestsellers list. There is no bias. There's editors' picks there, of course, but these are just the best-selling books. It doesn't matter if they're liberal, progressive, Marxist, communist, Islamist, whatever. These are just the best-selling books. We just want to be clearly transparent. We have adult nonfiction, adult fiction, politics, history, young adult fiction and nonfiction, children fiction and nonfiction. Just the best-selling books. All of that is there. You can buy the books below that. If you check out, you can go there and buy the books. And also on this CDM Bookshop, which you can find the link on cdm.press at the top, CDM Bookshop, or just go to Manhattan.press and hit the checkout button. You can search here for any book you want at the top, and you can buy it from us. Why buy a book from Amazon and support the Matrix when you can buy it from us? So please support us that way. People buy books for school, for business, for the summer, the beach book, the book on the train, the business book, whatever. Buy it from us. Don't buy it from the Matrix. I had a great discussion with Dr. Peter McCullough. I had some people call in and ask about this or email me saying they wanted to see that again. So I'm going to play that right now. I hope you enjoy. We'll be back with Thierry Laurent at the bottom of the hour. We're back with Dr. Peter McCullough, a friend of the show, the Wellness Company, and I really appreciate you carving out some time. I know you're slammed, but thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
So there's some questions I wanted to get to. The food dyes in the food. Why is it so important to get that out? And why has it been so long that they've been used poisoning Americans?
You know, the major food dyes of concern are the yellow and red food dyes. That represents easily 70 to 80% of the artificial food dyes used. And, you know, they've been on the market for decades. There have been clinical studies now done over that period of time showing in animals, particularly mice models, that they actually cause cancer, may cause bladder cancer, other organ cancer. So that's a concern. The second is there's clinical studies done where for sure these food dyes worsen attention deficit hyperactivity syndrome. ADHD. It worsens it for sure. So it's true when kids eat M&Ms and Skittles and Starburst and you know, Fruit Loops, their ADD gets worse.
Wow. So it's proven. I mean, that's a fact, right? This isn't conjecture.
No, and you know, the FDA has been working on this for a long time. You know, there have been advocacy groups long before RFK and MAHA movement to say, listen, get these food dyes off the market. The FDA has been slow walking this process, like putting their request for comments in, then waiting a year, then another year. It's because the big food lobby doesn't want to make a change. And there are healthier, much healthier, natural food dyes that will work and make the products even better. So believe it or not, this is going to help the big food industry in the end.
Is it inertia? Is there some other agenda? I mean, because they're banned in the rest of the world, most of the world, correct?
Right.
It's only here that this happens.
Yeah, I think it's cost. And I think, you know, once a formula is set up and the companies have, you know, everything in their formula in production, they're not likely to change it. But let me give you an example. All this red dye that you see, that can be changed from the toxic red synthetic dye, which is a petroleum product. It can be changed to beetroot extract. And every study on beetroot says that it's very healthy for the heart. I mean, that's just an example.
Well, that needs to happen. And do you think Kennedy's going to get it done, or is there too much resistance, or is it happening already?
It's happening already. The companies have already capitulated. We've heard from General Mills and others. Even Walmart says they're changing their house brand. It's just a matter of when. Some have said, listen, they're going to get it done before the end of the year. Some have said in a couple of years. But, you know, credit to RFK that he got after it and got it over the finish line.
Totally agree with that. So, and I know he has a lot of hurdles he's got to get through, and he's got resistance in a lot of areas. What about the crackdown on pharmaceutical advertising? That really piqued my interest because, you know, I'm a media guy, I own a media company, and that we're competing against that matrix, which is difficult.
You know, Tucker Carlson really broke the news on this. He said that when big pharma approaches a major network like Fox, remember Tucker was on Fox, I'm a frequent contributor to Fox, when they approach a network and say, listen, we want an advertising deal. Let's say Pfizer does for their products. Let's say their blood thinner. Then Pfizer has control of the entire platform. So Pfizer can say, listen, we don't want to see any bad stories come out on our COVID shots, for instance. That's how this works. And so Bernie Sanders and Angus King are going to help RFK. They're proposing in the Senate legislation to ban direct-to-consumer pharmaceutical advertising, just like we ban direct tobacco advertising on TV. It's only the US and New Zealand that allow it. It's very confusing. My wife watches evening TV. She says almost every commercial, Todd, is another drug commercial.
Yes. And they're almost farcical. You know, they dream up these weird names and they show, you know, women just frolicking or whatever. And in the meantime, it's it's causing real damage or not doing what it says it's going to do. Because you can't read all the disclaimers, right?
Right, and you can't get a fair story, a fair medical story on these networks. So the problem is, let's say CNN signs a contract with GlaxoSmithKline or Pfizer or Moderna, what have you. They're not going to have any fair stories across the entire platform, any health stories. So you can't trust them. You can't trust Sanjay Gupta because his platform is, engaging in direct-to-consumer advertising. So, your platform, the independent media platforms, that's where people are going to learn the medical truth.
So true. What about mRNA? Where are we on this? I've heard a lot of things. Even I, which am somewhat knowledgeable, am a little confused on where this all stands. What say you?
Yeah, we have states and jurisdictions trying to ban all messenger RNA technology. We have our FDA actually rubber stamping the next COVID-19 boosters. We've had our FDA essentially approve respiratory syncytial virus messenger RNA. And they still are fast tracking self-replicating messenger RNA through various, development pathways. We have to get to some working groups in Washington over messenger RNA safety. We have to. We just cannot let this go on. Many are disappointed in this chain of command. This was my Substack today, from Trump to RFK to FDA Commissioner Macri. But none of them are stepping up right now on messenger RNA safety.
There's a lot of issues that, there's a lot of talk. And when we get down to it, it seems like, business as usual going forward. And hopefully that won't be the case. So how could people in the audience, help that effort to put pressure on Congress? Just call your representatives, or what needs to happen?
Certainly call your representatives, decline any messenger RNA vaccines. Now USAFacts.com, which uses the CDC data and really is reporting it fairly, has a lot of good news as of last month. Do you know, for white men like us, only 50% of the country ever was fully vaccinated with 2 COVID shots. It was way less than what people think. Do you know it was only 2% of babies under age 2 ever got fully vaccinated with COVID shots? People have dropped these. And that should be a strong signal. Now, sadly, USA Facts reports that, that at least a third of all the vaccine vials just get dumped down the drain because no one's using it. So, I was disappointed with Elon Musk's Doge effort. You don't hear too much about Doge anymore, but boy, they should have gone after vaccine waste, fraud, and abuse. We should get that money back from Pfizer and Moderna and Janssen and Novavax. We should have tens of billions of dollars returned to the U.S. government for wasted vaccines.
So what issues do you think, I want to get into some of the products here in a minute, but what issues should people be aware of? There's been a lot of talk of bird flu and other things. Is anything like cooking that people should be aware of health-wise right now?
Yeah, people are going to hear about razor blade sore throat. It's called the Omicron Nimbus variant 1.8.1. It has a prominent sore throat feature. Most importantly, people should twice a day use nasal sprays and gargles. Wellness Company, we feature Immune Mist nasal and throat sprays. Gargling with scope and Listerine is fine. Outside the Wellness Company, my go-to is Xlear, Xlear, and its companion gargle spray. But I do it twice a day religiously. I'm not going to get this Nimbus variant, let it percolate my nose for 5 days, drain to the throat, and then get a razor blade sore throat. It's completely avoidable with nasal sprays and gargles. Everybody should be doing this twice a day before they get sick. Don't wait until you get sick. Do it ahead of time. The prospective trials are very supportable. Everybody should have a COVID-19 contagion kit or a Wellness Company general medical emergency kit. Many preppers, many are very worried right now with Middle East tensions, sanctions. And I know, Todd, I know you're kind of a prepper. They get the field kit, which is the big kit, and just get, in a sense, your home pharmacy set. I had a patient today, by the way, who had a Wellness Company kit, and sure enough, he was traveling and he got an infectious diarrhea, and we've got him on the right drugs. He's going to get better quick.
Well, that's the whole point that people need to be aware of, because yes, you have the emergency kits, but once you get them, then you're in, Tahiti and you get sick, you can call the wellness company, get online with a doctor, and he'll say, open the kit and do this. That's what's fantastic. And I have that green travel kit. I'm traveling now. I have it in my car. I mean, I don't go anywhere without it now, because I've used it several times. Once for an insect bite that turned bad, and so I've used it.
Well, Todd, listen to this. I took a safari to Africa. Many people know this because we are putting pictures on my platform.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the people in our entourage, our South African guide, he was immunocompromised, and because he was getting cancer treatment, he's on a medicine called Neupogen. Well, sure enough, he gets this terrible cut as we're trying to cross this, unwisely trying to cross a stream in this jungle hike we are on. And he gets this cut. And I'm like, oh, great. This thing is going to get infected big time. Thank goodness I had the wellness company kit. We cleaned it up. I had all the materials. We got it dressed, sterilized. And, I watched him carefully because, we're out in the bush, no infection. And then sure enough, my wife gets an infectious diarrhea and she gets pretty sick. And I go, oh, gosh, here we go. This is going to ruin our African safari. Thank goodness I had the wellness company kit. She needed the combination of drugs there, and we got her better, and we had a good trip. So the wellness company kits pay off in spades. Everybody should have one.
Completely agree and highly recommend. And you can, by the way, for our audio audience, you can go to twc.health/CDM and use promo code CDM, and you can get the best discount. Tell us about re-engineering of medicine. There's a lot of people, I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who said there was a hospital chain that everybody was saying, don't go there, you won't come home. Right? I mean, there's a lot of medical fear and distrust. How is the wellness company reimagining healthcare, to steal a phrase from Obama?
At the wellness company, we have 24/7 telemedicine. We have nutraceuticals, and we have our own prescription pharmacy. So if you sign up for a membership, you get your prescription drugs for free, you get your supplements for free. I'm older. I'm on some prescription drugs, Todd. I'm a member. So I get my supplements for free and I get my prescription drugs for free. Don't need to depend on CVS or Walgreens. Certainly don't need to depend on a clinic. Many people use the wellness company as a supplemental if they have good insurance. So that way they have coverage. I think if someone's a diabetic or hypertensive and needs frequent visits, I'd go ahead and get the premium membership. The One Wellness, I believe, is called Elite, the premium membership, and even the telemedicine is free. So, I think we should avoid hospitals. I try to never have a patient go to the hospital because that's where all the complications occur.
Well, the whole point is, like during COVID, where we had the lockdowns, I had really bad COVID and I had someone write a prescription and the pharmacy wouldn't give it to me. So that having those drugs in-house is really, really, really important. And you don't need to go to the pharmacy or the doctor if we have another pandemic, because you can just, you have your kit, you have your drugs, you can call up, the wellness company, talk to a doc pretty quickly. I've done it. And that's the whole point, right? That you can take care of things at home.
That's true. And, not only that, but you can take care of them earlier. So many times people, by the time they get to the urgent care, ER, or hospital, they're days into a problem. And it's a much bigger problem than taking care of it, right away. And so what we find is if you're able to take care of things right away, you can quit. It's like a fire. A small fire you can put out. A big fire, you have to call the fire department and you're in trouble. Yeah.
That's all I got, Doc. Anything else you want to get out there that people just need to know?
Make sure you follow me on Twitter, X, P_McCullough MD. Follow the wellness company, TWC _ health on social media. Go to twc.health /CDM. Use Todd's code. Sign up and become a member. Get the emails every day. They're so useful. There was one that just came out of the Middle East conflict and what we should be ready for. They're probably the most useful email you're going to get is from the wellness company. Make sure you sign up for my Substack, Focal Points. Get all the biomedical updates there on Focal Points. Support the McCullough Foundation, McCulloughFND.org. And of course, listen to my podcast on America Out Loud. Talk News, the McCullough report, people are basically leaving mainstream media in droves. Now they may go back, Todd, they may go back if they drop pharmaceutical advertising.
Well, that's possible if they actually become real reporters instead of propagandists.
That's it. But they're going to have to go out, do embedded reporting, report the news. I almost don't believe anything that comes through mainstream media.
We're going to end that right now. I've got Thierry Laurent in the green room who's going to bring in shortly. But I want to hold up two things. One, go to historyofbooks.com, get Paying the Price, the untold story of the Iranian resistance, how we can bring down the regime from the inside. There's no reason to have another war. Israel's talking about another wave of attacks. Who knows what the Trump administration is going to do. But we don't want any more American involvement, and it can be done from the inside, and we know how to do it. So go to anywhere books are sold, Paying the Price, the untold story of the Iranian resistance, and also have this video there. You can get it at historyofbooks.com. I think they have signed copies there as well. And another thing I wanted to talk about is precious metals. If you go to, let me just bring this up, cdmmetals.com, you can fill out the form for Advisor Metals. They'll contact you. Look at getting some of these silver rounds. You have cash assets. What a way to put some into some of this so that you can pay for anything, food, gas, fuel, ammo, whatever you want. When the matrix collapses, you've got these silver coins. You can get them through Advisor Metals in bulk at a great price. He's a patriot. He's not going to force sell you. You just have a conversation with a guy. If you go to cdmmetals.com and fill out that form, you can talk with him very easily. He'll contact you or someone on his team. So check that out. I'm going to bring in Thierry Laurent right now. Thierry, my friend, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I just don't know.
You just got off the plane, man. So I know you. I'm like, dude, get to your hotel right now.
Listen to me. I have been leaving Moscow yesterday midnight. The temperature was about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. And I arrive in Provence where I live, and the temperature is 102.
Wow.
So this is a big shock, thermic shock, Plus, our plane have been delayed. So basically, I was stuck in Istanbul for about 6 hours, knowing that when I came there, it has been taking me another 3 days, in fact, to land in Moscow.
Wow.
It's up to be like a sort of adventure, in fact, to come and to get in touch with all my business contacts. But
so before we get to France and in the EU and the NATO summit, what's going on in Moscow? What's the vibe on the street?
First of all, what I have to say is that the weather is absolutely terrible. Therefore, I don't know who is speaking about global warming, but my friend, it's not happening there. I spent 1 week obliged to put pullover every day. Can you believe this? At night, the temperature was oscillating between 8 and 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 46 to 52.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot say that it was really, really hot. As for the ambience, I have to say that the life is going as if nothing was happening. Absolutely nothing. The restaurants on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they are packed. People are in the streets. People are partying. There is absolutely no problem, and I don't see any psychological pressure in regard of the conflict that is developing.
Yeah.
On top of it, the government's putting a lot of measures, in fact, to counterpart the inflations, because if you have a little bit of saving, you can put it on the saving accounts, and depending on the condition, you can get 12 to 20.6%.
Wow.
This is what I did. I'm moving out of the Eurozone, and I move my money to Moscow because at least I'm making money without working. Wow. So basically, it is true that there is an inflation, not as much as in Europe. Let's be serious. If you look at the price of the food there, you are going to spend much less money in a restaurant in Moscow that you will spend in south of France. Actually, if you look at what is happening in Paris, the price has been skyrocketing. This is going out of control, totally out of control. Here, the food is about 28% in inflations over time, over a period of time of 1 year. In Moscow, you might face about 10 to 12%. Nevertheless, when you are taking a major breakfast within a five-star hotel, the prices are still really affordable. For something like $8, you have a full meal in the morning. You cannot even finish. It's impossible.
Wow.
Absolutely impossible. And I have to notice that the quality of the food is exceptional.
Well, one thing people don't understand about Eastern Europe is the food is very healthy as well. I mean, they don't have all this processed food, or at least they didn't. Maybe it's going back that way, but it's much. You go to a breakfast in a hotel in Kiev, for instance, and it's buckwheat, it's yogurt, it's very good food. It's interesting.
Be careful with Ukraine, because the last year I was living there in the 2015. I have been seeing a major shift. If you go in the countryside, yes, you will get quality food. But right now, with all the combat that has been occurring and all the shares that have been exploding everywhere, you can be sure that all the crops, they're going to be completely, polluted with explosive. So basically, this is what I was saying with some colleagues. If you are exporting crops out of Ukraine, my friend, I don't think this is a good idea.
Interesting.
Really.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Especially in the Khmelnytsky area, where there was a gigantic warehouse in which they were storing depleted uranium shells, and it has been blown by a Kinjal. So basically, the entire region is completely contaminated with cesium radioactive.
Wow.
So,
well, I guess I was more talking about Eastern Europe in general, but yeah, Ukraine is a problem. Yes.
Actually, there is a place where you would be very surprised in regard of the quality of the vegetable. This is Croatia and Bulgaria. In Russia too, if you go in the south of Russia, in Crimea, in the region of Krasnodar, Mineral Novado, the food there is absolutely exceptional. And the price also. My brother is married with a Russian woman, and when he goes in his step family, he told me that a T-bone steak 2 kilo cost him $8.
Wow. Yeah.
So basically, despite the fact that there is an inflation, due to the fact that Russia is self-sufficient in terms of food, and they are growing because there is a huge amount of small farms, and they are selling their own product. So basically, you have a lot of local markets that are providing very healthy food because they are not using any product. Don't forget that the soil there is extremely rich in oligo-elements and metal. Yeah. So basically, in fact, they don't need, to put additive product, and they are getting absolutely exceptional product.
Yeah, yeah.
In regard of the services that has been developed in Moscow, I am just really, really surprised. There have been, this is in my opinion, right now, one of the most advanced cities in the world in terms of technology and services associated to it. You can get a taxi in less than 2 to 3 minutes. Wherever you are, you have an application that is called Yandex Go. You click, you have 5 to 6 propositions of taxi in the next minute, and you select your taxi. You can call it for free. You have like cashback. It's unbelievable the type of services that they are offering.
Yeah, they're very advanced on the consumer technology business. You know, the DoorDash, their version of DoorDash, the food delivery. They're very advanced on that. Yeah.
Yeah. On the banking system point of view, there is an amount of development in terms of fintech that has been made, which is absolutely amazing. In fact, all the young students from Russia, they are going to the West universities. They are learning a lot. They improve it because those people are very smart.
Mhm.
Don't forget one thing. In the Olympics of mathematics every year, who end up in the top 3? Russia, China, and guess who is the number 3?
India.
Iran.
Ah, interesting.
You see what I mean? Iran is in the top 3 mathematicians producer in the world. This is surprising, isn't it?
It is.
So basically, in fact, those guys, they have been putting mechanisms that are extremely smart. If you want to open a bank account, you don't even have, in fact, to go to a bank. You go online, you open your bank account, and the guy is bringing you the card in your hotel or wherever you are living. You sign up the paperwork. He explains you the functioning of the application. Let's go. You can link your bank account with an app to the phone services. Everything is interconnected. So basically, with your telephone, you can manage your entire life. And it's very well done. It's very easy to understand. The applications are and in the Russian and in English, because there are a lot of foreigners that are coming back to Russia. And this is really making your life extremely comfortable.
Interesting.
I have been meeting a certain numbers of officials, of course, and I have a message. What has been happening with this SpiderNet attack was a major mistake.
Yeah.
Really, really serious one, for several reasons. The first one is that the START agreement is saying that each party is giving the visibility to the other. That means that there is a balance and a confidence that is established. What has been happening within US agencies, certainly there was a leak of information regarding where were the vectors that were susceptible, in fact, to support the nuclear deterrence, okay, and security of Russia. So that means that there is a breach of contract, which can be opening a very, very serious problem of, how do we call this? This is like a casus belli, okay? So basically, knowing that Vladimir Putin is somebody that is extremely moderated compared to his extreme far right, who is pushing certainly to use much bigger weapons and to have a harsher answer. Nevertheless, as much as he hasn't been responding immediately, I can tell you one thing, Ukraine is done. It means that this is not that they will go to Kiev or they will go in the Western territory, but until they will not achieve their goal, this is not going to end. Whatsoever negotiation is put it on the table in Istanbul. And actually,
well, that was the purpose of the Ukrainians doing that, so that it would piss the Russians off and they wouldn't stop the war. I think that was one of the purposes of that.
Well, what I do believe is that the MI6 has been helping a lot.
Yeah, of course.
And you know that UK has got a lot of interest because they are controlling most of the businesses in Kiev.
Did you see the news report? There's a news report out that the new head of MI6, the woman, her grandfather was a card-carrying Ukrainian Nazi. Did you see that?
Yeah, I know. But if you look at the network that has been initiating the Maidan coup, most of the actors that has been helping in the organization, they are all related to the Third Reich during the Second World War.
You know, it's even worse. You look at where Blinken and Victoria Nuland, Chrystia Freeland. By the way, Nuland and Freeland are not their real names. It's a Nazi slogan: "Free the land, new land, ethnic cleansing." Their real names are something else. But they're all from Galicia, the Western Nazi region. It's amazing.
In fact, the real name of Victoria Nuland, well, let's relate it to her grandmother, is Chomiak. And my contacts within Russia has been sending me some archive pictures where you see the grandmother Chomiak with Goebbels and Hitler.
Yeah.
And they were working very closely because they were handling a newspaper that was far right oriented. And they were the family Chomiak was very good friends with the top level ranking of the Third Reich. If you look, for example, at Klaus Schwab, his father was working for the Third Reich, and he was making what we call heavy water, which is deuterium dioxide, okay, necessary, in fact, to build the nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And his father was supporting the apartheid in South Africa. So basically, the guy is a far extremist, and he has been influencing very much the way that his son is thinking. And that is the reason why, in fact, they have been putting together, in fact, this team of people related to the Third Reich in Ukraine to make sure that they will be able, in fact, to use the nationalism and all the neo-Nazi party that has been developed from 2000, I would say 2000 to 2013, 14.
Yeah, we're my sense is we're fighting somebody else's old war. But let me just bring this up. This is an article we wrote. You mentioned Chrystia Freeland, the truth behind her adopted last name. Here she is as a OUN Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists in Toronto. But here's all the stuff you were talking about. You can find this on cdm.press. That's her grandfather, again, her grandfather, and all of the proof is there. I mean, so Victoria Nuland's past, nobody knows. And same with, this is Chrystia Freeland, but Victoria Nuland's the same way.
Nuland is a very particular case, like actually Blinken. You know that both of them, they are Ukrainians, but they are Jewish Ukrainian.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Which is very shocking because how come Jewish, after what in fact the Nazis and the nationalists have been doing during the Second World War in this country, they can relate in fact to this kind of people and this ideology? For me, this is a mystery. I have been digging a lot in that story, and one of my contacts in Austria have been giving me some hints that were quite interesting, and I need in fact to share this with you. You know that the Azov group, who is like a Nazi group, has been trained by 7,000 of Shin Bet people coming from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
When the 7th of October event has been occurring, those guys, they have been called back, and they had in fact to go back in Israel, in fact, to fight the Hamas. What I have been hearing as a story, but I cannot prove it, it is just like a rumor that is running around, is that as Israel was in its configuration right now in the Middle East, was kind of very sensitive place, surrounded by 800 million Muslims, and they were lacking of space because they wanted, in fact, to build a sort of great Israel. They were thinking about to deplete completely Ukraine and to colonize it in the way that they will be shifting from the place where they are in Israel, in the Middle East, to Ukraine. But they were not expecting that Vladimir Putin would be interfering within, in fact, the country at the level he has been interfering. So basically, that might be explaining the reason why those structures, they were just playing around with those neo-Nazi. But at the end of the game, when the conflict would have been settling down, in the aftermath, what could have been happening at this moment? Because the nationalists, they are against Jewish, and from the ideology knowledge that I have of Bilecki, Parubi, Yarosh, and so on, they were just deciding, in fact, to cooperate until a certain point to pump out the money. And actually, this is what Kolomoisky has been doing. He was financing those groups because there was a common interest, in fact, to raid on different companies. And then actually Kolomoisky got a lot of problem with the CIA at the point that he has been extradited out of
I saw that. Let's move on to France. I don't have but about 10 more minutes. What do you think about the NATO summit? Can France spend 5% on its defense?
What a joke. This is another Macronade, like the Ukraine, they have to say. Because you know that there is a big fight within the parliament right now, and the budget is not locked. It has been 1 year that, in fact, the country is running on a no budget. That is unbelievable. And Macron, in his dream and his aspiration, in fact, to federalize Ukraine, want absolutely this fundraising to happen, because he thinks that, in fact, our military will accept, in fact, to go on the ground against Russia in the next 2 to 3 years, when the fund will be raised and the European Union will be rearmed. This is just fluff, completely fluff. One, because our military are not stupid enough, in fact, to do that, because that would be triggering a nuclear conflict immediately. And actually, I've been meeting with Alexander Artomonov, who is extremely known in Russia. He's at the heads of different newspapers, including TV channel like Russia Segodnya, which is encapsulating Sputnik and Russia Today. And we have been discussing, in fact, this matter, and say, it seems to me that those people there, they still don't integrate that if they try to put one foot on the ground, they are becoming target immediately in the next second. So basically, in fact, this is the first factor. And the second factor is a financial factor. The country debt right now overpassed the GDP of 110%. But this is not including the non-provisional. If we are looking forward to what we will have, in fact, to pay in the next 10 years, the debt represents something like 206% of the GDP. On top of it, you want, in fact, to assign a budget of 5% to the military. With which money? That means that this guy has in mind that he will be able, in fact, to confiscate the assets of the retired people and the French people. This is not going to fly. And actually, I need to tell you something. Discussing here and there, everywhere, I see a level of angriness that is growing in the country that make me think that one of these days, I don't know when, but this is for sure, it is going to explode.
Yeah.
So
you have France that can't spend that. You have Spain that's saying they won't. You have Germany that's running up its debt in order to do it, but who knows if they will. The UK is lost with Starmer. So why is Trump touting this big thing at NATO summit for 5% when it's all a lie?
Not only that. Look at what Fizzo is saying. He don't want to hear about it because he's concerned about his population and how to supply with energy. The supply of energy for Slovakia is Russia. The same thing for Hungary. The same thing for Bulgaria. And you think that those guys, they are going to cut off, in fact, their capacity to be competitive on the market, on the industrial point of view, and also because they need the gas, in fact, to heat themselves because their winter is really, really tough. That is not going to fly at all. So Rutte and all those guys, they are completely out of the box. They haven't been understanding that the story of Ukraine is just collapsing. End of the summer to the middle of October, we are going to see major shift on the battlefield. I don't know if you have been following up on the combat, but the Russian army is progressing at a speed. This is just unbelievable.
Yeah, they're massing troops in Sumy, I guess, now. And the story this morning was that the Ukrainian defenses just don't exist because they stole all the money and didn't build the defenses, the fortifications in that region.
Whatsoever you send there, they take 30 to 40%, they sell it, in fact, to the black market, in fact, to fill their pocket. It's enough. It is enough. When I see the number of real estate assets that Zelensky has been buying, in fact, to constitute his fortune. This is just an outrage. Actually, he made an effort. I don't know if you have been seeing this, but this time he came with a sort of suit. Not kind of classic, but at least he was not in a green t-shirt.
He looked like Kim Jong-un, to be honest.
yeah. But Kim Jong-un, like LGBT kind, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Actually,
Funny.
there is something to notice which has been marking, in fact, all the medias in France. Erdogan has been grabbing the hands of Macron and force him, in fact, to make a sort of dance to put him exactly where he wanted for the photography. So basically, you see, the last time he was holding his finger saying, you know, I do whatever I want with you. Now he make him dancing. You see this guy like, woo, woo, woo.
Oh my!
Donald Trump that was hanging him by the hands and pulling him like a little boy. His wife, I don't know what, slapping him. What the hell is this? This is an insult to our nation. He's just humiliating us. It's time for him to go. And actually, there is a lot of politicians right now that are raising the voice. They want him out. They are forcing him for resignation. He's not going to do it. But we need to make sure that something is happening. We cannot continue with this guy anymore. Enough is enough.
Yeah, you know, Kim Jong-un has his pleasure squad of girls. I'd hate to see the pleasure squad for Zelensky.
Oh, yeah. We saw a sort of hint during the, when the summertime is coming. In France, we are celebrating with a night where everybody is playing instrument. And the first party he has been giving was with all those gay guys dancing with stocking, high heel, and when the population saw that, the guys were like, what the hell is this guy about? This is just nasty. This is disgusting. This is exactly the image of the entry ceremony of the Olympics. Everybody in the world that is normally constituted and well structured on the mindset point of view refuse and reject completely what has been proposed, because this is an insult to the Olympics, This is just proselytism of LGBT or homosexuality or depraving behavior. This is just crazy,
Well, any of our Christian viewers who may, be supporting Zelensky, this is what you're supporting. I'll just play this real quick.
Oh, you have like a dancing show with... Oh, yeah.
Oh boy, I won't play it all, but it's pretty bad.
You know that I saw that live on TV when I was living in Kiev.
Yeah.
The first time I was like, what the heck is going on here,
And there's other
this guy
videos.
become president? My God.
There's other videos of him playing the piano with a part of his body.
Yeah.
Pretty bad too. But that's what our Christian American government is supporting. It's quite fascinating. Thierry, I just want to briefly go into the book. Let me just show people this real quick. If you go to historyofbooks.com and then you go to our imprint, Vindicta Publishing, and then scroll down, you can find Thierry's book. Where is it? There it is. Ukraine, A Warning to the World. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. If you have any interest in world affairs, go there and buy it right now to historyofbooks.com. Ukraine, A Warning to the World by Thierry Laurent. So how can people follow it? Go ahead.
Actually, I am coming out with a new version because I have been collecting an amount of information that completely, I would say, the experience that I had on the ground. But I have been more focusing on what was going on behind the curtains. And there was a lot of assassinations of our people. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about Eric Denessé, who has been shocking Russia at a point you cannot believe, because this guy was extremely respected. He was a DGSE former guy. He was one of the the best intelligence services assets that we had in France. And his disappearance that has been, presented as if it was suicide has been shocking at a point you would not imagine.
So
And
a suicide in France of a patriot.
yeah.
Saying,
Actually, our entire community of intelligence does not believe a second that this guy has been committing suicide, and especially me, because I was supposed to meet him when I came back from Moscow, and I sent him an SMS, and there was no answer. And we have been scheduling this meeting for a long time regarding economic intelligence. We had to discuss about a lot of things, and there was no answer. So basically, at night, I received a phone call from a colleague lawyer in Paris, and he was announcing me that Eric was dead. And when he said that the police was thinking it was a suicide, I say, I cannot believe it, because I'm supposed to meet him next week. You know, it was a very, very big shock, especially because between the moment I went to Moscow and I was supposed to meet him, we have been exchanging a lot of information by email, a lot of documents. So basically, there is something extremely fishy. And there will be something that I will have, in fact, to discuss with you in the NATO show, because we are still digging into it. And there is something very, very nasty that Macron is hiding in the back end of the administration in France.
Well, we'll be ready for that when you're ready. But Thierry, thank you for your time. We're out of time today, and we'll have you back and look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thank you very much, Todd, and have a good day.
All right, ciao. Before we close out, if you have things you need to buy, clothes, bedding, sheets, towels, slippers, dog products, I don't even know what all Mike Lindell has now at mypillow.com. Go to mypillow.com. Check out what Mike has before you go to Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever who canceled Mike. Buy from the Patriot. Support him. He's supporting Tatum Peters. So go to mypillow.com. Use promo code CDM. Don't forget that. The best discount, use promo code CDM. Spend some time on the website, just like at the wellness company. Spend some time on mypillow.com. See what all he has. He has 600 products. I bet there's something on there you don't know he has. The mattress toppers are out of this world. I can't live without them. The slippers, I'm on my fourth pair. I've got to order a new one. I'm to the point of wrapping duct tape around it to hold it. I've used it for so long. My wife laughs at me, but I need a new pair. But I'm going to go to mypillow.com. Use promo code CDM. And support Mike and support us. Thank you for all. Oh, by the way, if you're looking for merch in the gym, go to armedforces.press and check out the merch on our merch CDM or armedforces.press store. And you can, let me just show that real quick. If you want to look good in the gym, here we go. Go to armedforces.press in top left corner on that hoodie. You can get the merch and look good in the gym with our AFP gear. So we will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. We got a full show. All week's going to be packed. We got some really cool guests coming in, unique guests you're not going to find anywhere else. So stay with us. See you tomorrow.